All right, so today we're going to deconstruct a short but just incredibly powerful poem by Zeynep Karaca called The Moon. In just a handful of lines, it takes us on this intense, emotional ride from this place of silent grief to violent rage, and then finally to this profound moment of self-discovery. The poem kicks off with this feeling of absolute finality. The moon is full, so a cycle has clearly ended. The furnace, this source of heat, of creation, it's gone out. And the waves, in one last move, have taken away something as joyful and alive as dolphins. It really feels like the end of the world.
And right away, that brings us to the poem's central question. Is the narrator describing some kind of actual apocalypse, or are all these huge cosmic images really a metaphor for a deeply personal, internal collapse? Let's dive in and explore that. So, we start with the first stage of this journey, a landscape of just overwhelming grief. The narrator isn't just sad. It's like their entire world, their inner reality, has been completely hollowed out. And the imagery, it just escalates so quickly. It's not just that the dolphins are gone. The poem tells us the entire ocean has dried up. I mean, can you imagine that? The very source of life and deep emotion is just gone. And then the whales, these massive ancient symbols of wisdom, they're occluded, basically hidden from view. The world is just becoming more and more silent, empty, and just terrifyingly vast in its nothingness. And this right here, this is the crucial point. Amidst all this cosmic destruction, the narrator's response is silence, a lump in the throat. The pain is so immense, so all-consuming, that it can't even be put into words. They are totally paralyzed by it. And then, just as we're sitting in that paralysis, the poem makes this shocking pivot. I mean, look at the dramatic shift in scale here. We go from a loss that's too big to even comprehend, the entire ocean, down to the smallest, most insignificant thing you could possibly imagine, a single crab on the beach. This pivot just throws us headfirst into the poem's second act, which is all about pure rage. And it's a fascinating psychological move. See, when a pain is too big and abstract to confront, the mind often does this thing called displacement. It finds a smaller, more tangible target to unload all of that anger and frustration onto. And the language here is just incredibly violent and specific. This isn't just a little annoyance. This is a deep, visceral desire to completely destroy this one tiny creature. That unspeakable grief from before has finally found a voice, and that voice is just screaming with rage. And notice how this builds. The narrator is fantasizing about destroying the crab in this methodical detail. It's about inflicting pain, for sure, but maybe more importantly, it's about control. The narrator feels totally powerless against a dried-up ocean, but they can imagine having absolute power over this little crab. They even want to watch it drown, in waves that don't even exist anymore. So why the crab? Well, it's because the crab is manageable. You can't fight a dried-up ocean, you can't scream at a silent universe, but you can direct all of that helpless fury at something small enough to break. But just as we're getting comfortable with this idea of misdirected anger, the poem turns again, this time completely inward. And this line, wow, this is the poem's stunning climax. The narrator has this profound realization. That huge, empty blankness they felt at the beginning, it wasn't actually empty at all. It was something solid, dark, and incredibly sharp. And that brings us to the poem's final act, the revelation of the inner universe. This is where the narrator finally starts to understand the true nature of their own internal landscape. So to really get what's happening here, we have to look at these two key metaphors. First, obsidian. It's volcanic glass, right? It's born from intense heat and pressure. It's dark, it's sharp, and it's brittle. This represents the narrator's pain, not an emptiness, but a solid, sharp, dark presence inside them. And that piece of obsidian is contained within a moonstone. Now, a moonstone isn't empty either. It has this amazing internal light, a glow. It's a symbol of clarity, of protection, of the self. It's the vessel that holds all that darkness. So the narrator's big realization is this: I am not a void. I am a duality. I am a sharp, dark pain held inside a self that is still luminous, that still has its own inner light. This is such a monumental shift from feeling like a victim of a cosmic catastrophe to understanding a complex internal reality. And this understanding, it triggers a release. Rhyolite is a type of volcanic rock. It's related to obsidian. So being caught in this rhyolitic flow means embracing that fiery, internal volcanic nature. And in doing that, the soul is released. It can finally bleed, finally feel, after being frozen and unable to speak for so long.
And this leads us to the final, absolutely perfect line. Remember how the poem began? The moon has filled. It was full to bursting, at a point of static completion. But now, after this whole journey of self-discovery, it has overflowed. The emotional dam has finally broken. The paralysis is gone, and it's been replaced by this cathartic, emotional release. Ultimately, the moon charts a path that I think we can all recognize. It's the journey from feeling like a passive victim to lashing out at an easy target, and finally, to the courageous act of looking within. And it leaves us with a really powerful question. When we face our own void, which path will we choose?